Something else that you talk about, which is so stepping away from nutrition, if you can call nicotine, at least things that you consume through your mouth.
Yeah.
Binaural beats. This is fascinating. Now, this is something that I've experimented with and anecdotally can say, and I still do. I use it when I study or if I'm writing, coming up with lectures and that sort of thing. Very different than what we just talked about. But tell us about binaural beats, because I think that it's very well known among certain people, computer programmers, people who sit in front of the computer a lot, maybe audiophiles, who really will experiment. But what are binaural beats? How do they help? How do they help you, at least?
Exactly. I think there's two very cool studies to talk about here. Yes. Taking a step back, what are binaural beats? Yep. Binaural, two, as the name implies, is you expose the brain to two different frequencies each through each ear.
Right. So this works best with headphones, is the caveat.
Yeah, you need headphones.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So for example, if you expose the left ear to 390 hertz and the right ear to 410 hertz, the difference is going to be 20. So the theory is that these two sound waves collide in the brain, travel down the cortex, and the brain sees the 20 hertz.
Right.
And certain frequencies seem to activate different parts of the brain and quite significantly improve cognition.
So just to step back for a second, this isn't something you're actually hearing in your ears. It's an illusory psychoacoustic phenomenon. The brain thinks it's hearing it.
Yeah.
And so there's this third tone that's heard, and you're about to get to the idea of basically brain entrainment.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tell us about that.
So it's a very fascinating concept. The more I read about it, I'll be honest, the more confused I get.
Yeah.
I don't think it kind of reminds me of studying quantum physics when I was in university. I don't know if anyone fully understands exactly what's happening in the brain with, synchronizing these oscillations and activating certain parts of the brain, and why some frequencies work and some actually seem to cause harm.
That's a very interesting side of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the harm part.
Exactly. So I guess, like you said, a lot of computer programmers, university students,
mm-hmm.
A lot of people have heard of binaural beats.
Right.
You walk by people in the library and they've got these YouTube videos up.
Yeah, there's some novelty to it. It's interesting.
It's cool. Mm. You listen to it and it's typically very kind of easy to listen to with different sounds.
I'm gonna play an example.
Yeah.
Right here.
Exactly. And so I wanted to look into it a little bit more,
mm-hmm.
because, not only did I, want to find ways to counteract a lot of the negative effects of sleep deprivation, I had to study a lot during my residency.
You're not just practicing as a doctor, you're studying
during
your residency.
Exactly.
Yes.
Board exams and working 100-hour weeks. I wanted to spend as much time with my family as possible, doing things I enjoyed. And I think it just makes sense to want to look at the literature. How do you learn better?
Sure.
Right. And binaural beats takes 2 seconds to put on a pair of headphones and turn the sound on if it improves cognition.
Yeah.
And so I had heard a lot about binaural beats. I used certain YouTube channels, but I wanted to actually look at the primary evidence myself. And what I'll say is a lot of the YouTube channels, I don't know if that's actually what has been studied or what the sounds that are being played are exactly what's going to produce the effect that studies have shown.
Right.
So they're very easy to listen to. It passes the time, but the sounds that you hear on a typical YouTube video are not actually what was studied for binaural beats.
Right.
So there are two very fascinating studies for binaural beats. One is measuring long-term memory. So typically the practice of binaural beats is you want to listen to them before you start a task, kind of prime the brain, and then during. And it seems like the longer you listen, there actually seems to be more and more benefit. So they took two groups. They compared binaural beats, 20 hertz, to white noise, which is, I think, a very good control. A lot of people listen to white noise. There's a bit of cognitive benefit with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the static on your TV, if anybody doesn't know what white noise is. Yeah.
Exactly. Versus binaural beats. And they found that the group that listened to binaural beats for 15 minutes and then had to memorize a list of as many words as possible in 2 minutes afterwards remembered 30% more than the group that was listening to white noise. I think it was about a 10% absolute increase. So they remembered about 26% to maybe 36 or 40% of the words, which was pretty fascinating. And if you think about something that you just kind of slap on your ears and listen to while you're studying,
right,
a relative 30% increase in long-term memory is profound.
Yeah, especially for something that's not passing through your digestive system,
Exactly.
Neurotransmitters and that sort of thing. It's just a sound.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. It just got me thinking, because when you say white noise, as a father of 2 young children, you're thinking about, it's very common to play white noise to get children to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, what would it be like if you use binaural beats? Interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. I doubt there've been studies on that, but I'll take a look.
Yeah. I'll have to dive into that too.
So brain entrainment. This is the idea that setting up a binaural beat of approximately 20 hertz is going to sort of get the brain to hit those same waves of the same frequency, right?
Yeah.
There are many different types of brain waves, but the ones that are usually targeted with binaural beats are beta and theta waves.
Yeah.
So you've got beta waves, which happen when your brain is active. Those are within 13 to 30 hertz. So 20 is right in the middle there.
Yeah.
That's why usually these studies choose 20. And theta waves are between 4 and 8 hertz. This happens when you're meditating, when you're about to fall asleep. So perhaps there might be an effect with getting you to relax.
Yeah.
So the idea is to play those sounds, listen to them, and try to get your brain to slide into that same window of brainwave and binaural beats.
Exactly.
This is not a new idea, by the way. This is so binaural beats were discovered in 1839 by Heinrich Wilhelm Dove. So it's an old idea, but the idea of brain entrainment goes back to about the 70s. So it's been around for a while. This isn't some crazy new, shamanic practice that's come up in the last 10 years or so. There's some history to this. Just wanted to preface by saying that.
Totally. No, that's really cool. I didn't know that. That's,
it's been around for a while. Now you can. So you were saying playing it first. Yeah, I think that's interesting, because anytime that I've ever done it, I go to do something, I put it on, and I just go with the flow right away, right?
Yeah,
that's interesting. I can tell you anecdotally that when I do it, I find that my focus locks in, and I wonder, and I'm sure these studies parse this out. Maybe you know the answer. Are the cognitive effects a byproduct of the beats themselves, or is it because you're focusing better? Does it really matter? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day if there's an effect.
Yeah, I don't think I can say based on the studies. That's a good question. Yeah, I guess for me, that's a good. I don't know.
It might be hard to parse out.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, you played with them and you found it helped
a lot. And again, I like to go by the studies, right? I like to follow the study protocols. So what I did is I created the exact binaural beats that were used in the study.
Right. I'll link in the show notes to your YouTube page where you can find these binaural beats exact as they had them in the studies.
Exactly. Because to be honest, I'm a little skeptical of a lot of the YouTube pages that say it's binaural beats.
No doubt.
And if you listen, it's not the most comfortable sound initially.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be that way, right? Because it's, these are the high frequencies that they're using, not, they didn't study what these other pages are using. So I'd made them myself. I learned how to make it in one of these apps and noticed a lot of benefits. So posted it on X or Twitter, and a lot of people were interested in it. So did a bit more of a deep dive, and I found another very cool study where they took, I believe it was university students, and instead of long-term memory this time, they looked at attention. And they wanted to compare binaural beats to, of course, placebo. I don't think they listened to anything, but also people that practice mindfulness. And there's a lot of very good evidence that practicing mindfulness, meditation significantly improves attention. It can even improve test scores. And what they did is they had a group listen to binaural beats. and then do an attention test 5 times in a row. They wanted to exhaust them to see how much their attention would drop. And it was the go no go test.
Right.
So essentially, you tap when you see an object that you're supposed to tap, but you don't tap when it doesn't come up. But it goes pretty fast and it changes a lot. So you have to be really focused, right, to tap at the right time and not tap when the wrong object comes in. Right. So you'll need a lot of inhibition. So they exhausted these people. The people who were experienced in mindfulness, who had been doing a month of meditation, scored about 75% the first round, and it dropped to maybe 60%, right? The people who were in the control group got about 50% right at the beginning. After exhaustion, they were only 20%.
That's a big drop.
It's a huge drop. Huge. Just adding binaural beats, right? Something very easy to put on your ears. Takes no time. The group went from, again, about 50% before starting, and they increased to about 54% at the end of the task. So not only did they not drop 30%, they actually improved a little bit despite this exhausting task that they were doing beforehand.
Which is an effect that you never see.
Yeah.
Like not just dropping, but improving when you've got some sort of stressor. That's amazing.
Exactly. So all this together, again, risks and benefits. Like there's not much of it, sometimes maybe I'll get an occasional headache with binaural beats, but then you just take them off.
Right.
These are small studies. We're not going to get a ton of funding because there's not a lot of money in binaural beats. Right. But these effect sizes are massive, right? So to me, it just only makes sense to want to do something very low risk that seems to have a lot of substantial cognitive benefit.
So I'm going to also link in the show notes, and I'll put it up on the screen, a website where you can make your own and sort of turn off the 2 carrier tones to see what that produces in terms of a binaural beat. It's very, very cool little experiment you can run to see what it is exactly that we're talking about. Wear headphones, turn on one tone, turn it off, turn on the other, turn it off, then put them on at the same time. And you'll see exactly what we're describing here. It's hard to imagine until you actually experiment with it.